How's everybody doing this morning, MLC? Man, we're glad to have you guys in the house with us. Let's go ahead and stand to our feet. We're going to sing some songs together. Come on, here we go. God has done some great and mighty things. Amen, church. And we have seen God move time after time. But we know that he is not finished yet. And we know that he won't stop now. Let's lift our voices and continue to give him glory and honor in this house. As I give you glory for all you've brought me through. And now I'm ready for whatever you want to do. I'm moving forward to follow after you. And now encourage each and every one of you guys just to declare your breakthrough is on the way. Let's sing it together. I know. Since I know breakthrough is coming, and by faith I see a miracle. It's my God. He made me a promise and it won't stop now. Oh, come on. I know breakthrough is coming. By faith I see my God made me a promise and it won't stop. Oh, it won't stop now. See, I know breakthrough is coming. By faith I see it. Yeah. Made me a promise and it won't. Come on, get your breakthrough. Oh, I know breakthrough is coming. By faith I see a miracle. My God, He made me a promise and it won't stop now. Presence, it's an open door, and we want you, Lord, like never before. Anybody need Him in the house today? Come on. Your presence, it's an open door. So come now, Lord, like never before. But church, some of us are going to learn a new song together this morning. And it simply just speaks and says, God is who He says He is. He's a way maker. He's a promise keeper. He's a light in the darkest of dark places. So let's just sing this out in faith and in confidence this morning. This is way maker. You are here. You're moving in our midst. I worship you. God, I worship you. And you are here. You're working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. And I worship you. God, I worship you. Oh, you are here, and you're working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Come on, it says this, it simply says, you are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Come on, that's simply singing it together. This way maker, miracle worker, promise keep, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are here, and you're touching every heart. I worship you. Yes, I worship you. You are here. You're healing every heart. I worship you. I worship. He's turning lives. Oh, you are here. And you're turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. I worship you. Oh, says he is. Amen, church. And as I was preparing this week, getting ready for the services today, just read through the lyrics of this song, and my mind went to Numbers chapter 23, where it says, God is not a man and he does not lie. But I love the way that it wraps up that passage in verse 19. And it asks a couple of simple questions. It says, has God ever spoken and not fulfilled it? Has God ever made a promise and it not come to pass? And the reason I love that is because it made me reflect on my life. And it reminded me of God's faithfulness in my life. And it just being reminded of that faithfulness gave me the confidence to know that if God was faithful back then, he is going to be faithful in the future. Amen, church. Come on, so even when we don't see him working, let's sing this out together. Oh, even when I don't see it, you're working. Just even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Oh, you are a way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, so way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Come on, let's sing. Waymaker, you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper. Your light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Come on, every voice lift it high and believe every word. Waymaker, miracle worker, your light in the darkness. My God, that is who you. Come on, somebody's beginning to get it. Sing it again. Waymaker, waymaker. Whoa, he's a promise keeper. My God, that is who you are. Oh, waymaker, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper. In the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Oh, that's how we say, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Come on, sing, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, one last time we sing, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. You're my God, that is who you are. Oh, that's who you are, Jesus. You're greater than anything that's coming our way. Oh, you're greater than any sickness. You're greater than any cancer. You're greater than anything, Father. You're greater than any broken relationship. Yes, you are. So God, I pray right now in this moment that those words hit somebody like never before. Somebody who's sitting here or watching online who may feel like they're a little bit faithless right now. But God, they need to know that even in the middle of our faithlessness, we serve a God who is still gonna be faithful. So God, right now in this moment, we're praying over every broken heart to be mended. Every broken relationship to be mended. God, situations in lives are beginning to turn around. Everything that you have promised is going to be fulfilled. And we know it might not happen when we want it to happen, but we know that in your time, that your will be done. So God, I pray right now as we get ready to hear the word, that you will open our hearts, open our ears. Pray that you would speak to us today so that we leave here forever changed. Jesus, we love you and we thank you for who you are. It's in your name we pray. Before us, say amen. Wait, church, thank you guys so much for singing with us this morning. Go ahead and take your seats.
Hey there, welcome to Mountain Lake. My name's Chris. If we've never met before, let me be one of the first to welcome you to our church. I just want to let you know something coming up next week that I'm super excited about. October the 13th, I'll be sharing the mission, the vision, the values, the heartbeat of our church. And every weekend's a great weekend to invite somebody, but this weekend in particular, if you've ever wanted your friend or neighbor or coworker to experience the heartbeat of your church, next weekend is that opportunity. They're going to get to experience it. We'll have some fun things going out in the courtyard. It'll be a weekend you really don't want to miss as we look back over the year and celebrate all that God has done. So that's next weekend. Don't miss it, and do me a favor, invite somebody. Now, I get the opportunity of introducing our guest preacher today. His name is Frank Beeler. Frank actually just joined our staff team this month as our chief of staff. You're like, what does that mean? That means Frank gets to handle all of my headaches during the week, and I'm so excited that he's on our staff team and what he's doing here at the church. I know today he's going to have a great encouraging word for you, and so I'm excited to introduce him today. So without further ado, would you do me a favor? Would you please put your hands together and welcome to the stage, Frank Beeler.
All his problems, whatever comes up, it's fine, it's fine. So we're in this series called All the Family Feels, right? We're navigating all the tensions in our family and maybe trying to address some of those generational things. Pastor Chris had an amazing message last week when he pointed out that there may be a generational gap, but that doesn't mean that there has to be a relational gap, right? And so we're trying to figure out to navigate all those tensions and family dynamics. I love that we're doing this series now because it's a little bit before Thanksgiving and a little bit before Christmas. So all that drama that's getting ready to unpack, you can get prepared for it with this series. One of the things I want to be honest about is that this last week, I don't know about for you, but it just hasn't gone at all as planned. It was fall break, and honestly, my wife and I felt the pressure of trying to do something awesome for our kids, but both of us had a full week of work. And so you're like trying to squeeze in fun things to do, and I schedule some time to take the kids to see a movie on Tuesday night, and the whole time I won't tell them which movie it is, and they're being all dramatic about just wanting to know what movie it is. They don't even know if they want to go, and I'm like, I'm taking you to the movies. Like, come on, cut me some slack. And so we're trying to do these fun things, and one of our sons gets to go to the beach because another friend's going to the beach, and then my other son, he's sitting there going, gosh, everybody's gone. There's nothing to do, which of course isn't true as well, right? So here I am feeling like I'm not winning as a parent, feeling like I need to be home more. I need to be creating these awesome memories, but work's got to be done. We just opened a 62,000 square foot facility with my work down in Alpharetta, and it's supposed to be like done and awesome, and there's just like all the little things that aren't working, like the street lights in the parking lot that I have no control over. But those little things are just exhausting, right? So you've got that going on. Here I am trying to figure out this new role here at the church where so far my job description includes what you just saw, all the things. And so I'm like, I don't know how to do all the things well. And so I have these expectations of this being a solid week. And like we approach this week going, as parents, we're going to do a decent job with our kids. We're going to try to create some fun memories. We're going to try not to mess them up this week. We have them home for a full week. And so I'm voting, like, take that pressure off of parents altogether. We just eliminate fall breaks. keep the kids in school, right? So that's one of my things. But then like work and everything else going on. But I think all of us can agree, whether it be with a vacation that you scheduled or something you intended to be awesome and you were going to create all these great memories, and yet it didn't quite live up to the expectations you intended. In 1997, I graduated high school, and a couple of big things happened. I became a believer. Before that, I hadn't gone to church, didn't know Jesus. So I became a believer and got really excited about that. I became a punk rocker. Yes, I was in like a punk rock band, traveling around, spiky hair, dog collar. Yeah, so that and believer, like I did both at the same time. Like who says, it's like I used to be a punk rocker, now I love Jesus. But like I did them both at the same time. So it's like that was weird. But we were going to have this awesome summer. I was going to travel around with some of my best friends. We were going to do concerts. It was going to be like this summer that was incredible. My expectations were so high because I had been through so much in my life. And so now it's something new. It's going to be different. And the summer was solid. It wasn't epic. There was cool memories along the way, but maybe my expectations were a little high. And then as the summer's wrapping up, I'm in downtown Knoxville, Tennessee, hanging out with some friends. My favorite band from California traveled in to play at this pizza / bar / dinky little place that holds like 200 people if we all stand like this, right? We go to this concert. I'm excited. It starts at 10 p.m. at night. So it's the end of the summer, 10 p.m. at night. Me and my best friends, we go there in our punk rock garb to celebrate who we are. And so we go to the concert, and around midnight, the concert lets out. And we come out, and on a Saturday night, it was a little busier than normal in downtown Knoxville at that time. The other pizza place was still open. There was lots of people around, and the police were over here to the right, handling a young man who had elected to not find a restroom in private. Okay, so they were dealing with that over there. So us, being wise young men of God, decide to go the other direction. So we go away from all that, but our car is that way. So we take a left on the city block to then go to the next city block to come back up. Makes sense to us, right? But what we didn't realize is that there's an alley in between the block. And it was all these dumpsters and stuff like that. And it was like something straight out of a movie. And I don't know who said it. I'm sure it wasn't me because I was like amazingly perfect in all my decisions. But somebody decided that the best thing to do in this alley was to race to our car down the alley. So we make the turn, and I don't know what happens, just boom, we're off to the races, and we are bolting down this alley, kind of pushing each other in the dumpsters. It's fine. Like, we're just going, and we get up to the other end of the alley. So the alley's right here. We pop out the other side, full on sprinting, and those police officers who were handling this other issue now turn their attention our direction. They jump on their police bicycles. I don't know what they're called, but they had like a light and the whole bit. And they start chasing us down, screaming at us. One of them had like it's like a walkie-talkie megaphone thing going on. Like he was calling it, but it was like projecting real loud. Pull over, stop. I was like, do you pull over for running? Like I didn't know what to do. And so they finally catch up to us. They put down the bikes, grab us, bend our arms behind us, and take us back to the car. Next thing you know, my face is on the back of a police car, and I'm completely confused. I'm like, I know we weren't supposed to run in school, but we're outside. Like, this is fine, right? Do not understand what's going on. And my expectations of what was supposed to be an awesome way to end the summer suddenly changes. Well, what we found out after a lengthy, somewhat heated conversation and unnerving conversation for the 3 high schoolers that were there is that someone just 2 blocks further down had decided to throw a brick through the front of the jewelry store window and just take whatever was readily available and take off. And they were some ruffian teenagers, and we looked like ruffian teenagers, so therefore they thought it was us. They ended up calling our parents and finding out that they knew we were there, finding that we didn't have any jewelry, and we just needed to get to my Dodge D50 pickup truck with no tailgate and just squeeze in 3 to the bench and just get home. Like we weren't doing anything wrong. But I'll tell you, we had these expectations that it was going to be awesome, and once again, it kind of threw it off. Now it's kind of fun to look back and tell that story. But at the time, I mean, it rattled me for a few days. Like I just wasn't okay after that. So you have expectations of your family. You have expectations of this season that you're in, whether you're in high school or college or marriage, the beginning of marriage, or getting ready to have a kid or retiring. You have like this season that you're in, and you have expectations. I'm a Tennessee Vol fan, and I have seasonal expectations that are not doing very well. My expectations weren't here. They were just here. Just here. That's all I wanted. Just like, let's not have a losing season. That was like my goal. Like, my expectations are still down here, right? We have expectations when it comes to our experiences. We spend our money, our time, and energy. I will tell you this. How many of you have already gone to the coming fair? Raise your hand if you've gone to the coming fair. Okay, a handful of you. How many of you plan to go or your kids plan on going? Let me see your hands. Okay, a majority of you have your hands. You will be disappointed. Whatever expectations you have will lend themselves more than likely to arguing about how much something costs, how hot it is, what time it is, how long we have to wait in line, and suddenly what was supposed to be a super fun time as a family, or let's go create some memories together, ends up being, meh, it's fine. It's fine. I'll go too and subject myself to the same experience, right? There's something about our expectations that kind of mess up when we get to those experiences. And then there's our kids. We have expectations of our kids. How many of you have kids? Raise your hand if you have kids, okay? Most of you in the room have kids. How many of you have experienced, by a show of hands, your kids doing something really dumb? I mean, just see your hand. Okay, most of you are willing to admit that. You're like, yeah. And some of you are looking because you're like, you got a new kid, and you're like, they haven't done anything dumb yet. Like, they know it's coming, right? So we have these expectations that our kids are going to turn out a certain way, that they're going to experience things a certain way. We kind of project that on them, and yet, if we're not careful, we will be greatly disappointed if they don't fit into our mold. So when we talk about our family feels and these feelings and these experiences that we have as families, sometimes it's our expectations that end up warping how we experience things. There's something about the way we come into it. Now, one of my friends back in the day, he actually put this in his senior year yearbook quote. He's like, expect nothing and never be disappointed. And that doesn't sound like an awesome way to live. Like, there's probably somewhere between let's still be able to enjoy things as they are, but at the same time, let's not let our expectations ruin as soon as something goes wrong, something changes, right? So here's what I figured out. That most of the time, our experiences aren't ruined by the circumstances. They're not ruined because it rains and we were looking for the perfect day. It's not ruined because the car broke down on the way to the event or whatever we were doing. It's ruined based on our response to that experience, right? Suddenly, what we think is going to be awesome, as soon as it gets slightly out of shift, out of gear, it's not quite right, it's our response that ruins that experience, right? We know this. We overreact when it comes to parenting our kids. I don't quite understand this, and I'm struggling with this. I got two 17-year-olds, a 13-year-old, and an 11-year-old, so I get this wrong on a daily basis. But when my kids do something dumb, or they do something unwise, we'll clean it up for church. Do something unwise. When they do something unwise, my first reaction is to give them consequences for that dumb decision. And so I'm like, you did something really dumb. You didn't brush the cat, I don't know, or clean up the dog poop, or whatever their chores are. I'm taking away your phone. Okay? Like, I don't know how that actually leads to fixing the problem long term of them not following through on their chores. We're just going to take away something. There's these consequences. We react sometimes in kind of a irrational way. Our first response is, no, there's got to be a response because you didn't handle this properly. Right? We get frustrated by that, and yet sometimes it's just irrational. Our response and correlation just kind of gets broken along the way. So whenever I kind of get to a place where I'm like trying to navigate life, and I'm sitting there going, I feel like I'm not getting this right ever. Like I feel like I keep missing these experiences. I thought fall break was going to be different and we weren't going to have a lot of family time, but the family time we had was going to be awesome. It didn't quite play out that way. Whenever that stuff happens, I try to go to God's word, not looking for the answers to say, well, when my daughter does this, should I or should I not take away the technology? We're going to have a hard time finding iPhones referenced in there, or should you get an upgrade or whatever. That's not in the text. But what we can find is how people tend to navigate those tensions. And there's a guy in the Bible, his name's Paul. Paul gave us a lot of what we know as the New Testament. He wrote a lot of letters. And in there, we see a man that, starting in Acts, went through persecution and challenge and problem after problem after problem, right? So, I mean, he was persecuting the church, was killing believers, like totally against Jesus in the church, all these bad things. Then he completely does a 180. Now he's like all for the church, wanting to move the church forward. But along the way, as he makes this 180, people don't like him, so they're punishing him. He's put in all kinds of circumstances you can read in Acts 14 and 16. He's flogged, put outside the city to die over and over and over again. He gets in all these storms. I mean, he's just trying to travel from one place to another. All these things that are in good intentions, good things for the kingdom, and yet things keep going wrong. And I found this unique passage in 1 Corinthians I want to share with you of Paul writing. And he's basically said in 1 Corinthians 15, 8, 9, somewhere in there, he's like, hey, I've done a lot of bad things to the church. I've struggled with this, but here we are. And listen what he says in 15, verse 10. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace to me is not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God within me. And we'll leave that text up for just a minute because I want to point out a couple things there. The first thing that's interesting to me is when he says, no, I worked harder than all of them. Do you know what he's referring to there? The apostles, the followers of Jesus, the ones that we reference in all of our stories when we share the gospel. He's saying, in comparison to all of them, I worked harder than all of them. And I'm like, it was kind of an offensive text when I read it the first time. I'm like, can you really say that? Like, I don't even know if that's okay. I can't believe that made it into the Bible. And so I was processing that, and he was going, no, I've done so much bad stuff. I'm trying to counteract it with all this good stuff. But by the grace of God, he's doing something in me. Okay, so he's doing a work in me, and his grace to me is not without effect. So think cause and effect. God has done something really incredible, and it's changed the way I operate. It's changed the way I respond. It's changed the way I make decisions. And so it's interesting to me that he says, no. When God showed these glorious riches to me, his love for me, it did something really remarkable in the way I operate life. And when I read that, I immediately went back to this whole expectations issue. Because I'm sitting there going, I keep walking in with these expectations, and I'm not responding correctly when those expectations aren't met. With my building, with my family, with work, whatever it is, I'm not handling it well. And so here he is saying, whatever it is, whatever's going on, I'm going to let the grace of God have an effect on me and change the way I operate. Now, what's interesting about this is there's a paraphrase of the Bible called the Message. And in the Message, the way it presents it is fascinating to me. He says this, but because God was so gracious, same idea, got that, so very generous, here I am. And I'm not about to let his grace go to waste. Now, I have to be honest with you. I never thought, ever correlated the idea of when I'm wasting stuff, I never thought there was a possibility, or it never crossed my mind, that I could waste grace. That I could actually not do a good job with it, not take care of it well, and actually not only ignore it, but actually waste it. Now, those of you in the house, you can elbow your neighbor if this involves them. How many of you are absolutely bothered when somebody wastes water in your house? Like that just irritates you, like the sink's running while they're brushing their teeth or whatever, and you're always going in and turn it off. My daughter does that, and I just want to smack her every time she does. I'm brushing my teeth, the water's running, she just comes in and just turns it, and she'll walk back out. I'm like, what are you doing? Or that. I don't know why. I don't care at all about wasting water. Like, I will be the guy that, like, with the water hose spraying and washing on my car, I'll just leave it wide open and just throw it down the driveway and just keep washing my car. I won't even, like, squeeze the handle to pop it loose. I don't know why. But when it comes to electricity, wasting electricity is completely unacceptable. And I have something inside of me that can feel the hum of the light bulb on the third floor of our house and go, wait a second, did you turn off all the lights? Right? It drives me crazy to walk in and see a light on in a closet. I'm like, you're not even in there. Like, how did this even happen? I have threatened before to take away everybody's allowance in our house until I can afford to pay for automatic turn on and off lights in all of our house. Like, nobody gets anything, no more Christmas presents, nothing until we solve this problem. Like, that was one of my solutions. But inevitably, still today, I'm walking out of the house. Literally, we're trying to hurry to get here, and I stop, and I turn around, and I'm going smacking all the lights off. I'll tell you this. I don't know which one costs more, electricity or water. I have no perspective of, like, the units and what costs more. I don't know why I value one more over the other. No clue whatsoever. But I just feel like this pressure that we can't waste electricity. I have been known to turn off the lights in restaurants when I leave the bathroom. So I'm like, oh, sorry, there's somebody else in there. But it's just this instinct. I'm like, flip the switch. I'm leaving now, right? So it's this thing. But I'll tell you this. I've thought about maybe water. I've definitely thought a lot about electricity. But I've not thought about wasting God's grace. It just doesn't seem like that big a deal. So it sent me on this path of trying to figure out if we have these expectations that are continually not met, that we're trying to create these memories for our families, that we're trying to do something that really does matter, and we're trying not to argue about it in the car on the way there or on the way home, and let's just have a nice family time together. I have that expectation of lunch. Some of my family's coming in for the second service. We're going to go out to lunch together. I expect it to be a nice lunch. There's like 9 people going. It's not going to be nice. Somebody's going to be unhappy about something. Like, the statistical probability is this lunch is not going to go as I hoped, right? We just recognize that. But I've got to figure out, what is it in me that gets so agitated, so thrown off, that there are little things that keep me from enjoying these moments. The fact is, I'm still going to enjoy lunch with my family. Well, correction. I'm still going to eat lunch with my family. It's up to me to decide whether I'm going to enjoy that lunch, right? And I'm going to go in, I'm going to be all happy. I'm going to be like, oh, both those sermons are done. I don't have to do that again for another quarter or whatever. Chris, I guess that's on the list too. Whatever Chris says, I got to preach again, right? So it's like, oh, whatever that is. Oh, made it through both those. Nobody lynched me. I made it here. It's awesome. And so this should be a good lunch. I should be able to relax. This is not that big a deal. I don't care what food they bring me. I don't even care if it's right. It's fine. Right? But there's something in me that when something's just a little off, I just kind of rise up, and it's like this justice mode comes in to where suddenly everything has to be perfected. And when it doesn't, or when everybody doesn't immediately respond to my request, like sit down, turn around, little things like that happen with little kids, right? I just get so warped. And here's the thing. I'm not some angry guy that throws stuff a whole lot and gets all torn up. But on the inside, for all of us, whether it shows physically for you or not, there's something about this isn't the way it's supposed to be. It's got to be different than this. And so I see Paul going, oh, but the grace of God is not without effect. No, I'm not going to waste it at all. God's done something really incredible in me, and I feel like grace is this massive gift. So I've gone to God to say, hey, God, with that gift of grace, you know what would be really great with it if I could figure out like what pieces to take out of it and use really good right now? I'd like for it to change something inside of me in the way I'm wired. And so I'm like, God, do something in me. In fact, I wrote this down. I can't always see what God is doing in me, right? I hope he's doing something. I think he is. I'm trying to have a posture for that. But I don't know sometimes. I feel like I take one step forward, two steps back. I feel like I'm trying to take this stuff seriously, be a better parent, be a better husband, be a better churchgoer, love Jesus more. I feel like I'm making progress, but then I do such dumb things. The next thing you know, I feel like I'm moving backwards, and I'm like, how did I get here again? Like, I feel like I've already been here. And so when it's in those moments, I'm like, this whole idea of wasting grace, it's like, I sure don't feel like I'm making much progress here. This grace was supposed to have an effect on me. It was supposed to change the way I lead. It was supposed to change the way I live. And yet, I don't know that it's changing the way I have lunch. Like, I feel like there's some stuff that should change. So I can't always see what God is doing in me. But, check this out. But I can see what God is doing through me. When God chooses to use me, when I'm willing to step up and serve others, engage others, connect with others, go out of my way to serve others, it does something in my heart. It does something to change. It's something that lets that grace have an effect on me. If I'm really wanting to change, if I'm really wanting to see something different for my life, if I'm tired of having big expectations and yet letting them be dashed and disappointed, then we've got to let his grace have an effect on us. And while he may be doing something deep down inside of us, and I believe he is, there are some things that we can do to kind of position and get ready for that, to change our posture, to let God do something through us, so we can be reminded that he's working on us. One of the things we love to do here at the church is from time to time we'll show testimonial videos of what God did through someone else. You know, here's the thing. That video, the person in that video, they know. They know what God's done through them. We do that for the benefit of us, right? To remind us on the days where it feels like God isn't moving, that, oh, he's very much still moving. We're just missing it, right? We're reminding everyone that God is faithfully continuing to do remarkable things in the lives of other people. And we're going to talk about more about this in the next few weeks. We as a church are part of a foster care organization called Faith Bridge. And last night I was at their gala event. I hosted it at the building I was talking about earlier. So we had some speakers and some leaders from, Delta and Jackson Healthcare and all these people come in to do a couple things. Hopefully open up their checkbooks to help fund some of the initiatives of this. But then also just to unpack and understand the impact that Faith Bridge is having. And we told all the stats, all the numbers, the fact that it's like 18 kids per day are now being put in the foster care system in Georgia. Like, it's getting sideways really quickly. Like, we're getting upside down. There's at any given time 15. So they will spend their first few weeks of foster care rotating in with clinical workers that have all the right certifications, just stay in a hotel room so they can figure it out. But here's the thing. All those numbers were powerful. All that's like, oh gosh, we should do something. But you know what was the most powerful? They told the story of Morgan, a 16-year-old who had been bounced through the system after having just a difficult circumstance with her mom. And gosh, it was just a whirlwind. And in the video, Morgan shares how someone stepped in, not to take her away from her mom, but just to give some stability in this season. And how she's turned out, how God has moved so powerfully through a couple of people that had two little kids of their own, and they did something really remarkable. And I'll tell you this, when they were wrestling with they could feel like God was doing something in them. But now it's very clear that grace had an effect on that family because suddenly God moved through them, right? They were the hands and feet of Jesus. They had stepped in and walked in on this in a very powerful way and said, I'm willing to do my part. So here's what I would say. If you're walking in expectations and you're consistently being disappointed that with all your good intentions, it's like, hey, we're winning at life, and yet it still doesn't feel like we're winning. I would suggest that you find a way to be able to clearly see how God is working through you. What are you doing with your hands and your feet? Something substantive that on a weekly basis or daily basis, you can see it. You can know the part you're playing. It's very concrete. Our faith is so big, and so much of it is God doing stuff inside of us that we kind of just see tweaks over time, maybe. But I get discouraged by that sometimes. And once again, I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. I feel like I'm not making that progress. But if we can find a way to say, God, I need to make my faith more tangible. I need to find a way for you to move through me, because when you move through me, I can see it. And on the days where it doesn't feel like you're working, and it doesn't feel like my family's working, it doesn't feel like my relationships are working, you're still moving, and I see it for the part that I play. I think there's something powerful in that. So when you come to your expectations and the feelings that you have from time to time, I think we all have them, of going, I thought it was going to be this, and it landed here. Or I thought we were going to do this today over lunch, and it wasn't quite what I expected. Or I thought that my business was going to do this, and it didn't, and I'm disappointed, and I'm responding all these unhealthy ways. I'm reacting in an unhealthy way. I'll tell you this. It's probably TMI. I don't know. My oldest biological son, Micah, called me this week, and we were dealing with some stuff with homecoming, and we got to get a jacket, and we got to get slacks, and because he's grown again, so nothing fits. So I was like, now we got to buy all those things again. And I know I've got a daughter. I know, like, they got to get dresses all the time. So I'm just sympathize with me, dealing with him with this. And so I say, all right, his solution was, give me your credit card, and I'll go to the mall. And I'm like, whoa! Oh, that's so funny. I was like, that's the nuts, craziest thing you could possibly say to me. That's never going to happen. Like, not going to happen at all. So he doesn't do that. So I said, why don't you go to the mall, do a little shopping, and figure out what you need? And I gave him some advice. He then proceeds to text me pictures of things. He's like, I found it. This one's perfect. And let me just say this. My response was, first of all, it wasn't what we agreed on. Second of all, I call him, and I say, hey, so I don't know, man. That's not what we talked about. I said, how much is it? And his response was the worst possible response you could give. I don't know. But he was asking me to text him a picture of my credit card so he could go ahead and get it. So he was afraid they were going to sell it. I'm like, what? Like, he's a good kid. But I'm like, what? This is crazy. And so then, I don't know what it was, but there was something between me doing the phone call and him saying, I don't know, that took me from here to there. And so I am in the Home Depot parking lot, swinging by to get a few supplies for the building, and just lose it. I'm yelling at Micah. He's in the mall. The phone has to be this far away. I'm so frustrated because we had a plan, and I just need you to do it. Now, here's the thing. That day was uber stressful in every other regard. So Micah ended up taking the hit because we've all said it before. I've had it up to here with you. It's not always true. It's I've had it up to here with everything else, and you happen to be the one that pushed it over the edge, right? So poor Micah takes the hit. He's just like, oh gosh, like he takes it. It's fine. We circle back later. But I would say this. We can continue to have those type moments if you want, right? We can have those tensions. We can have those moments in our lives where it's like we thought it was going to be this way, and we either get loud or we get sad or however our response is, but it's just not the thing we expected it to be. So we have a few options on how we'll navigate that moving forward after this message. You can ignore it and be like, it'll get better later. I just don't know how that works. But maybe next time your interactions or the expectations will be better. Maybe. 2, you can lower your expectations like my friend did. Just have no expectations and you won't be disappointed. That just doesn't sound very fulfilling. Or 3, eliminate the waste. God has been so good to us. Let's not waste God's grace. Let's start finding a way to navigate life that feels a little differently. And I'll tell you that as parents, the biggest thing that sets you off, the biggest thing that frustrates you or disappoints you is when your kids are entitled, they're selfish, or they're being lazy. Those things are exhausting to parents. It's like, come on. Like, you don't understand. There are people that don't have any food in other parts of the world, or, whatever your response is. But you're like, those things are exhausting. So you can take away their phones. You can get upset. You can yell, or you can sulk, or you can make them do more chores, or whatever. But if we really want to battle that posture in ourselves, of being selfish, of being entitled, of chalking up our day and be like, I'm done. If we definitely don't want to see, I genuinely think the best way to fix that is for us to find a way to serve together. To let God work through us in a very clear way. For our kids to have to go above and beyond for someone else that's not planned around their schedule. So sometimes our solutions, our consequences for failing to meet expectations with parents are these random consequences that we know they'll feel, but doesn't do anything to help them see God moving through them. Now, I'm not saying you should stop taking away their phones at times. Do it. That's fine. That's a great punishment. I'm saying that maybe if we want to get this family stuff right, if we want to get some of these expectations back in check, maybe, just maybe, we can avoid the phone call going, I don't know how much it is, but that's the one I want. Maybe if we could just serve together. If you could maybe just help someone else. If you could maybe just go above and beyond to care for somebody else and their needs above your own. I believe that seeing God work through us is one of the best ways for us not to waste His grace. So Sean's going to come out and do just a little music for us as we wrap up. But I want to give you two challenges. The first challenge is I'm going to throw a word up on the screen, serve. It's going to come up on a big screen here in just a second. You can take a picture of this. But here's what I'd like for you to do. If you are navigating this expectation stuff, if you're trying to figure out how to see God move through you, if you're looking for some things to change, what I encourage you to do is right now, take out your phone if you want to, and text serve to that number. And what's going to happen is somebody from the church will help you and your family get connected. That may mean serving at a food pantry. That may mean serving in the children's ministry. There's all kinds of areas and ways that you can serve. But all I'm saying is that if you're navigating this tension of expectations, if you're being frustrated to the nth degree by, I thought it was going to be this way, and it wasn't, I'm telling you, that gap of not seeing God work through you is one of your biggest barriers. So we're going to keep leaving that up there. You can do that. But then I want to say one other thing. I am super grateful for the privilege of being at this church, getting to serve at this church in this new role. Like, I'm really excited about it. And Chris mentioned it very casually in the little clip at the beginning. But next weekend, we are going to have a really special service. Like, to me, it's up there with like Easter and Christmas, because we are going to get to celebrate all that God has done. Chris has stood on this stage for the last few years, each year, and given you updates of what God is doing through the church, things we're trying to navigate, whether it be finances or this or that. And I will tell you that the news of God's faithfulness, of what He's done through the church over the last year and what's ahead, is remarkable. Like, it is not normal. And so I would encourage you to come back next week and celebrate with us. It's going to be a really, really special weekend, and we want you to be a part of it. So for some of you, just to recap, you just need to send in a text. You need to do something other than ignoring the fact that expectations aren't working. God's got to move through you in a different way. We're going to help you do that. And then, like I said, come back next week. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to do one more song to celebrate, and we'll be done for the week. All right? Let me pray. God, we love you. We praise you. We're so thankful for what we get to do. We pray that we will see you move in and through our lives. You've done it before, God. We know you'll do it again. We know that you have big things in store for us, big things in store for our family if we'll just simply not waste your grace. So God, here we are with open arms, open hearts, saying, God, move in us and through us. God, may we be faithful with the small things you've entrusted to us so that we may see you move more and more. We love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
How great the chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written, in Jesus Christ, my living hope. Let's stand and sing this together. Who could imagine? Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my. Come on, the cross, lit up. The cross has spoken. I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Sing hallelujah. Oh, hallelujah. Praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah. Praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Let's sing this together and celebrate this. It says, then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring light declared the grave has no claim. Come on, every voice declared in this room. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to church, thank you guys so much for spending your Sunday morning worshiping with us. If you didn't get a chance to do so already, don't forget to text SERVE to the number on the screen. We love you guys and have a great week.